Have you seen the viral TikTok video of the young farmer who's opened up a 24/7 self-service butchery? It's had almost 1 million views, and rightly so, as farmer Jake Wolke is an entrepreneur on an absolute mission to get us all eating right. And in his own words, he doesn't give two hoots about the customer experience. Controversial. It's a Go Your Own Way, episode 623 of the 13-year-old award-winning small business big marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of old school marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. I do that through weekly in-depth conversations with those who have walked the path before us. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner, and you're ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Membership update. I want to welcome 3 precious businesses to my marketing gold tier. Craig from IP Designs. Welcome, Craig. You've been a long-time supporter of what I do. Everyone else, if you want to change your work environment, then check out what Craig can do for you with some beautiful indoor plants. Great stuff. IP Designs is the business. Also want to welcome Dan from premium car care brand Bowden's Own. Literally 5 minutes before Dan's membership came through, I just said to Sarah how both our cars needed a bit of loving. And all of a sudden, in comes Dan. Not suggesting he's going to be doing anything to our cars, but it was a timely reminder. And Jude from Sydney-based plumbing business Link Plumbing, welcome also as a gold member. If only it was up my way a few weeks ago when I had a burst underground pipe. Oh, that was messy and super expensive. Welcome, guys. Part of their membership gets them one-on-one coaching with me, which I start this week with all 3 of them. You can check out my membership by clicking the link in the show notes or head to patreon.com/marketing podcast. I'd also like to welcome my Silver Rama members, Darren, Tinger, Scott, Jason, Clay, and Tracy. Welcome aboard, guys, and I hope you enjoy all the goodies that membership tier brings you. Hey, I'd love to be welcoming you next week. Membership starts from $8.50 a month, and depending on what tier you choose, you get benefits like productivity reviews, Ask Me Anything. I do a Ask Me Anything monthly webinar where you can literally do that. One-on-one coaching, behind-the-scenes stuff, and plenty more. Patreon.com, that's patreon.com/marketing podcast. Righto. Farmer Jake Wolke first came to my attention with his viral TikTok video in which he takes us on a tour of his 24/7 self-service butchery, which requires potential customers to pass an interview process and attend a farm tour hosted by Jake. I love this guy already. I'll play the audio from Jake's viral TikTok at the start of the interview so you'll know as much as I do as we head in. Now, 24/7 self-service butchery that's had 0 theft in 2 years is a pretty impressive story. I'm guessing you'll agree. And I thought that was going to be the extent of my chat with him. How wrong was I? Farmer Jake is a business genius who's got plenty more going on, including owning a bike shop and cafe with his folks. He's a first-generation farmer who has a tour business. He's big on using his values to drive all business decisions, really strict on that. And he's not passionate at all about a nice shopping experience for his customers. Yet he's doing really well. I'm putting this up there with one of my most enjoyable and eye-opening interviews for quite some time. So here's the audio from Jake's viral TikTok video. All you need to know is that he starts out the front of his shop and makes his way inside. The shop itself is nothing special, lots of fridges full of packaged meat. Here's Jake.
Hey everyone, my name is Jacob Wolke. I'm a farmer in New South Wales, Australia, and this is my 24/7 self-service butchery. Let me show you how it works. So customers get their unique PIN code once they sign up to be a member. I better not show you what the code is. And then once they enter their code, they gain access to the storefront. This is open 24/7, 365, and all this meat we grow on our regenerative farm 10 k's up the road. So we've got pork, lamb, beef, chicken, wild harvest venison, and then we've got all your soup bones, marrow bones, chicken feet, pet mince, eggs, jerky. We make all of these with our own homegrown vegetables and fruit. Then we offer some supplements, honey, all different stuff. When you're in, you use an app on your smartphone called Express Checkout to scan the frozen produce and add it to your shopping cart. When you've grabbed all your produce and added it to your shopping cart through the app, you hit pay, use your debit or credit card. The money goes through Stripe. We pay about 1.7% in fees. We've got a couple high-def video security cameras in here that also have audio. We've been running this model for 2 years now. We're doing around $3,000 revenue a week. And in 2 years, we've had zero theft and zero shrinkage. And the way we achieve that is to qualify to be a member of our butchery here. You have to come do a free farm tour and understand our values and our ethos and what we're trying to achieve. Let people buy into our mission. Thanks for watching.
Now, buddy, where did the idea for a 24/7 self-service butchery come from?
Oh, it feels a bit long-winded. When you ask that question, you sort of come in halfway through the story, I guess. But essentially, my most recent business enterprise is farming and selling all my produce direct to consumer. And out of necessity, I had to purchase a butchery to process our own animals because none of the local butchers in town could handle our volume. So it started with buying a butchery just to have the back of house boning room where my butchers could work in a state certified clean area. And then the building that I purchased had a retail space that had been known around the area for over 70 years. And I had absolutely no ambition to get it started. It wasn't even in my thought pattern. We just needed the processing going on. And another local butcher who I'm friendly with was chatting to me in December. I think this is it 2020? I can't even remember. It's all a blur. And he said, when are you opening up the front? I said, oh, never. I'm not interested at all. And he said, you'll have it open by March. And that really got under my up my nose and under my skin because I thought, you dirty dog, now you've dangled this timeline in front of me, and I had it open 1st of April. It would have been by March if the tradies during COVID wasn't so difficult. But really, I ran a balance sheet on the back of an envelope really quickly, and there was just no way of making it viable to have a traditional front of house butchery with a staff member sitting there serving people all day. And I've copped a little bit of flack for that comment because they're going, well, why would you buy a butchery if you never had the opportunity to sustain a front of house business? But our farm that year did a bit under $500,000 revenue, and all of that was already being sold elsewhere, and that was all of our production. So we purchased the butchery to process our goods, and we had no extra goods to put out the front to have a business big enough to sustain somebody. So when I got offered that goalpost of setting it up, I thought I just need to get something going without wages. I basically need a big meat vending machine. And it sort of popped into my head, and I just forced it into existence by jamming together all these apps and systems and hardware that aren't designed to work together.
You're clearly a bloke who loves a challenge. I mean, was it an idea that was slightly in the back of your mind, or once your mate threw the challenge down, you're like, well, I have to do this either way, whether it's good for business or not?
I'd never thought about it. I was adamant that I didn't need, because I've got retail stores in the area, and I'm like, I don't need another one.
What do you mean you got retail stores? What do you got?
So I own a bicycle shop in town with my parents. And inside the bicycle shop, we've got a cafe, 7-day-a-week cafe. And we also have an e-commerce part of the bicycle shop that runs separately off-site with a separate team and separate infrastructure and everything. And I just thought, I don't need another roster. I don't need more sick days to juggle. And I'm pretty hands-off with the other businesses as it is. But when I figured out that, potentially there's a way to do this that is more hands-off, I took after it. I thought it was going to be interesting, and it has been.
Well, it certainly has been, mate. The TikTok's gone bananas. You've had 830,000 views in a short period of time. You don't seem to me, Jake, as being the TikTok kind of guy. What led to TikTok, and what convinced you that, hey, this would be a good idea?
Well, I've been on Facebook and Instagram forever, professionally and personally. And I've found that the engagement's really been lacking the last probably 12 months. You know, my following keeps increasing and my reach keeps increasing, but my engagement keeps dropping. So either my message is sucking or the algorithm, I'm not feeding into it properly. And I was talking to a buddy about it, and he said, Jake, the stuff you do is so interesting. I really think you should get on Twitter and TikTok. And I sort of thought, you know, Twitter's just for people to whinge about political structures and TikTok's for girls to make dancing videos. He said, oh, I beg to differ. He's actually trying to get me to go on OnlyFans at the moment as well. And I thought, isn't that just a porn site? He says, no, you take people, you take them behind the scenes of your business and show them what you're doing. Anyway, that's another thing. So I got on TikTok and Twitter. I've actually been having an absolute blast on Twitter. And within a month, my TikTok and Twitter followings have completely overshadowed my Facebook and Instagram followings that have been 4 or 5 years in the making, which is a real strange thing for me. But yeah, I did a video. It was my first TikTok that I filmed specifically to put on the app. And like you said, I think I've roughly estimated that my reach, when you add together Twitter and the media storm I've had in the last week, I'd estimate somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million impressions.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And, you know, you're putting a value to that would be incredible. What, besides weird podcasters calling you for an interview, what are some of the kind of really interesting or amazing or, you know, shock factor things that have happened as a result of that TikTok?
Well, some of the platforms I've been given have been really exciting for me. Like I was on the Today Show with Carl Stefanovic, which was a bit of a laugh.
No doubt.
I accidentally dropped a little sexual innuendo. And Carl thought that was funny, and it railroaded the interview. It actually ended the interview, and a lot of people on social media got really upset about Carl's composure. But in terms of clicks and impressions, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because that almost went viral in its own right. I think on Facebook, on the Today page, it had 600 or 700 shares, just that video clip alone, because of Carl's behaviour. So thanks, Carl. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, good on him.
And then having a lot of industry-specific media reach out, like The Land are doing a piece on me next week. I've had a few of the big newspapers like Herald Sun and The Guardian. And then I've actually had Landline, which is, you know, Australia's sort of premier agriculture show. They haven't reached out, but Pip Courtney on Twitter's commented on a few things that I've put up, so I might be on their radar now. And I'm a really new farmer. I'm a first-generation farmer. I've been farming for 4 years. It's sort of a passion that's turned into a business. And to be sort of, and everything I do is a little bit heretic. It's a little bit, that only works for niche producers, or this kid's a bit clueless, you know, and that's all filled with idealism and everything. So to be given a platform on some of these bigger old school publications in that thing to sort of put my case forward a little bit, I've really appreciated that opportunity.
You are a first-generation farmer. I could have sworn, looking at, you know, your website and your other videos and your background, that, you know, it's generation. It's a farm that's been in the family for generations. Clearly not. Let us understand a bit more about Jake Wolke. You're an entrepreneur, regional entrepreneur that likes business opportunities and chases them down rabbit holes. What kind of gets you out of bed in the morning?
We start off with a young delinquent. A young boy who didn't appreciate being told 7 hours a day, sit still, don't say anything, keep your hands to yourself. And as a result, I'm homeschooling. I've got 2 young boys and I've got a 3rd child on the way. And our kids will be raised in our home. I left school into year 10 and all the teachers told me it's a waste of talent, essentially. You know, my principal in high school used to call me the lovable rogue, because they loved me at recess and hated me in class purely just because of that energy. It just makes no sense asking high drive young men to sit still and be quiet. And then, so I left school into year 10. I went straight to work with my father, who had a record store at the time, CDs and DVDs, and I worked there full time for 4 years, and full time was 7 days a week. You know, anywhere from 90 to 110 hours a week, because as towards the end of that, which would have been roughly the 4 years I was there was 2007, 2011, would that be right? And the music industry was tanking. I remember jumping onto LimeWire, I think it was, and illegally downloading an Arctic Monkeys album, and I downloaded it in like a minute, 3 weeks before the CD was due to arrive in the store. And I remember going out the back to the office and I said, Dad, we're toast. We're toast. Yeah. So we worked out our lease. And then at the end of that, we had an opportunity to buy a local bicycle store in 2011. So I purchased that with my parents. And I worked there very aggressively for a long time, and we did a lot of really fun stuff. We've still got that business and it runs under management. I'm pretty top level. I just come in with the bookkeeper a couple of hours a week and get involved with, sort of top level HR stuff as needed. More business direction than day-to-day stuff. And I'm really proud of a few of the things we accomplished in that bike shop and a few of the systems I set up. When I was trying to sort of phase myself out of the roster, very challenging. I used to go to trade shows and everyone would just be leaving the seminars every 2-3 minutes to take phone calls from their staff. And I thought, this is a nonsense. We all think we're businessmen, and we've got, like I have, at that time, I probably had $1 million tied up just in inventory, like wholesale inventory, and we go away for 2 days to try to better ourselves and learn more, and we can't stop getting phone. So we're slaves. We've got jobs. We've got all this debt hanging over our heads, and we're slaves to our businesses. So
you know what job stands for? Just on break even.
That's right. I don't know. I get lots of friends going, I want to buy this business, yada, yada. I'm like, well, you're just going to be taking on all this liability to earn a wage. You may as well go work for someone. But I thought there's got to be a better way, and I implemented a sales policy called Satisfaction Guaranteed, which we've had for about 6 years now, and it's printed behind our counter, 2.5 meters wide, 1.2 meters tall, and it says, if you are unsatisfied with any product for any reason at any time, we will gladly repair, replace, or refund your money from our family to yours. And everyone said, you're going to get absolutely destroyed by that. Everyone's going to take you for a laugh. And the customer's going, what does it actually mean? I said, well, buy that bike, a $2,000 electric bike, and ride it to work for the next 2 weeks. And if you're just looking at it in your garage and you really hate the colour, bring it back and we'll swap it or we'll refund it, whatever you want. And it was incredible the difference that made to our business, because overnight I stopped getting phone calls from staff going, customer wants to return these gloves because the stitch pulled, but the 4 days out of warranty, yada, yada, yada. I just totally freed me up from all that. We actually sped up the conversion cycle with our consumers because there wasn't this overhead pressure that this decision that they had to make was the be-all and end-all. We could actually get them to take a visit earlier. Instead of 3 visits to buy a bike, we could get them on the first or the second one because they knew we had their back down the road. And it actually increased our average sale a bit. And the things that ended up getting brought back, because things do get brought back, almost always brought back for an upgrade. They're like, look, you told me I needed the $1,500 bike, and I bought the $800 one, but you're right, so here's the cheap one, let me pay the difference and I'll take the better one.
What have you learned about consumer behaviour, Jake? Because, okay, that guarantee that you've got on the back wall of the bike shop basically removes all risk. It says, buy the bike, if you don't like it, bring it back, we'll sort you out. No risk. So just go ahead and do what you need to do. In your 24/7 butcher shop, you have had, with no staff, with a PIN number for access, with a couple of HD cameras, you've had no theft. Both of these things go against what people think would happen. I've looked at the comments on your TikTok for the 24/7 butcher shop, and most people are going, I can't believe there's no shoplifting. I can't believe there's no shrinkage. Your bike story with your guarantee, you would assume that people would take advantage of that. I'll buy this bike, I'll ride it around for a couple of weeks and just take it back, and old Jakey boy will take it off my hands. All good. Clearly people, is it a regional thing? You live in Albury-Wodonga, it's a pretty nice place. Is it a regional thing, or are people just more honest than we give them benefit for?
I think there's a little bit of truth in all of those arguments. I don't know how these things would work in bigger metro areas, and I think you've generally got a issue with integrity decline in denser population areas, and that's not a personal slight at anyone living in a city, but I don't know if what we're doing is scalable. I've been thinking about it a little bit. I don't know if it's scalable, but I think the reason it works for us is because we're earnest and we're integrity based. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I talk about my personal finances, my family values pretty openly. Just about everyone in Albury who comes into the bike shop or comes into the butchery knows my kid's name, knows our schooling values and how we raise our meat. And even though I'm unashamedly for profit, and I talk about that all the time, I continuously want to better my own position. I am also very vocal about that for me, that can't come at the cost of anyone else. I hate externalized costs. I want internalized costs. So in a farming aspect, to sort of riff on that for a little bit, I want to sell beef mince or pork mince and make money out of it, but I don't want the pig to pick up the tab by increasing my margins by putting them in confinement housing in a feedlot. I don't want the environment to pick up the tab by using chemicals to make my processes on the farm a bit more efficient. So I'm not into externalized costs. I'm very open about wanting to, bring everyone along for the journey and increase the commons is how I refer to that. So I think if you lead your business like openly with integrity, by and large, most people will respect that. And if you do get taken for a ride, like I've been taken for a ride a couple times, I would argue that those people would take you for a ride without the policy anyway. They're the same people that are going to ring the Department of Fair Trading or go to Consumer, whatever the nonsense is. They're going to try to screw you regardless.
There'll always be one, mate.
Of course.
There'll always be one. I want to get deeper into the butcher shop, but there's so much to talk about it at a higher level. You left school in year 10. You kind of went and worked for your old man in the shop, which is probably the best grounding you could ever get. Clearly, it's proven that way. What do you do? Personal development? Do you just look at problems in business and go, well, there's an obvious solution to this. This is not difficult? Because you see some business owners and they get completely tied up and confused and pulling their hair out at trying to solve something. You seem to just methodically work through these things.
I look at those 4 years with Dad as my apprenticeship. That was a retail apprenticeship. And I learned immigrant mentality because my grandpa's first-gen German immigrant, and the Europeans came over with work ethic and they bootstrapped it. They came over broke. But I don't sweat the small stuff. I hate micromanaging. I'm a big picture guy, and I'm pretty upbeat. The world's full of opportunity. Like, you hear everybody talking doom and gloom about stuff, and I'm like, hang on a second, I can get onto Twitter and send a private message to Elon Musk, like whether he reads it or not. We're in this world with this amazing reach and these amazing opportunities to scale social structures and traverse countries and time in time. So one of my personal mantras is liabilities are untapped assets. Like every time you're looking at a liability, it's only a liability in the lens that you're viewing it through. Like a stock market crash, which is a liability. Like when do these traders get the most filthy rich? It's during the crashes. They know how to work it. So every liability is an asset.
Buy cheap, sell high.
That's right. So every time something goes wrong, I just, and that happens all the time, multiple industries. I've got about 50 staff across the businesses. Like, there's things going wrong all the time, but it's all about challenging your own bias and paradigm and going, instead of forcing that to be right, how can you work the system?
Let's talk about the 24/7 butcher shop, Jake, because I really want to get into actually, the farm and your values and all these other things that you've got going on. There's been a couple of criticisms of the 24/7 butcher shop. First, let's address the no staff issue. There's been a few people come at you going, this is un-Australian, you should give someone a job. You've done a TikTok on that, which I thought was beautifully brutal in the way you answered that question. I won't play that TikTok, but go ahead and, what do you say to people who accuse you of being un-Australian?
I love the fact that you said it was beautifully brutal, because I'm trying to uncensor myself. When I left school, I was quite argumentative and I used to love to troll people and get myself into mischief. And then when I bought the bike shop, I thought, I don't need to be on the front page of the paper because I'm smacking people on Facebook about the colour shirt they're wearing. So I've really toned myself down for about 10 years. And since I got on Twitter, that website's neurotic. It's got me really going back to my my high school. But, the reality is I've read that comment probably 500 times in the last week. And I'd be shocked if a single one of those 500 people created a single job. It's a comment from people who just don't know. So, if you're that worried about jobs, go create them yourself, because no one's got an obligation to create jobs for anyone else. But as a flip side, as I've articulated many times, the 24/7 butchery that's staffless is staffless because it was never going to be viable to support a staff member. So that's the first thing. Like, I haven't taken a job. It's not like I'm Safeway and I fired all the checkout chicks to put self-service in. That's a different argument, and we can have that discussion. But there was never a job in the first place. And in the bike shop, in the farm business, I do not care about customer service at all. Like, I want to be nice to customers, I want to get along, but we've got 5 values and not one of them's customer service. Our values are enhanced animal welfare, stewarding the environment, creating beautiful food, and they're not customer service. So I want to free up labour from the butchery and other parts of my business that are mundane and monotonous, and I want to get them out onto the pasture where we can actually execute our mission and the things that we're passionate about.
Well, the other response to that too was that Walkie Farm employs 50 people.
My businesses do. The farm's probably got about half a dozen staff. Yep.
All up. It's a bike shop, cafe, farm.
That's right.
You are a significant employer in your regional area. So the other answer to that. Another criticism. By the way, I do love the fact and you've got 2,800 comments, so I haven't gone through them all, and generally they're very positive about the 24/7 butchery. I do notice that you only respond to the criticisms, which I quite like. It's like as soon as someone gets your nose up.
For responding to the this is a great job, wish you all the best. Like, what do? You give them a thumbs up,
thanks,
say
mate.
like when people private message me, I say thank you, appreciate it. But the criticisms, like I've always baffled. I've got a friend that does secret shopping, so she gets paid by Big W and Woolies to go in the stores, buy stuff, and then fill out these onerous forms, long format, and about the customer service. And I'm like, why don't these websites just stop being gutless, turn on their Google reviews, and go and read directly what people are going to say and activate it? So if people go to my Google reviews on the bike shop and the cafe, every 1-star review's got an essay reply from me. And I'm not trying to smack these customers. Like sometimes it's a long form apology. Sometimes it's an explanation. Like I had a customer email me the other week saying, just bought some pork. Family wanted you to know that it was fantastic, but we'd appreciate not to have black hair on our pork belly next time. And I've taken that opportunity to educate him that the reason it has black hair is because our pigs are heritage breeds, and the breed that they need tougher skin and hair to survive in the elements. And so when they go to a commercial abattoir, it's harder to scold them, and the abattoir can't get all the hair out. The reason, so because people have given that feedback to pig producers over years, they've selectively bred these fine-haired pigs, these pink pigs that live in sheds now. So you're eating a caged pig, and if you took that caged pig and put it in my pasture, it'd shrivel up and keel over. And when I gave him back that information, he goes, "That's good enough for us. We're in. We're going to buy your pork." So it's just about
Awesome.
that education.
Well, he might not even realise that the pork belly came from an actual beast. He might have thought it was just made in a factory, mate. You never know.
Tofu pork.
Tofu pork. Don't get me started. My vegan son's still in bed. Another criticism you've copped is pricing. I guess people are making this assumption that with no staff and they look at the shop, which is, again, beautifully basic. There's nothing fancy about it. It's all about the product. And as I often say, the best marketing is a great product. But you have been smashed a little bit about, why your price is still up there when you haven't got as many overheads. What do you say to that?
I never want to give my wife the opportunity to call me cheap. So
Man,
I'm
you're a hopeless romantic.
I am absolutely not interested in putting any effort into offering the cheapest possible price. Like go to Coles, go to the local discount butcher, and buy that if that's what you need. And that's not trying to be insensitive to people on tight budgets. I work with people on tight budgets all the time. But the reality is in my agricultural business is to suppress pricing, something's got to pick up the tab. And there's a varying range of inputs that could be. It could be government subsidy, which is, if anyone's read Michael Pollan's Omnivore Dilemma, you can see how that's just had absolutely global tragic consequences, government subsidies in agriculture in America. It could be, like I said, building efficiencies on the farm, which ends up into the most efficient systems, which is having sheds full of animals, which is disgusting, and I don't want any part of it. It could be using tractors and sprays and poisons and synthetic fertilizers to force more grass and crop out of the ground, which has environmental consequences. It could be flogging my staff harder and paying them less to increase to enlarge the margin so I can bring retail down. So they're all externalized costs. So where people are buying from me, it's because they want to pay $27 a kilo for snags and know that no one else is picking up the tab. No one else is subsidising it through suffering or poor living conditions, whatever it might be. And so those cheaper foods do come with externalised costs that most people aren't familiar with, and that's just not our game.
There's such an educational role here, isn't there? And I know it's being done. It's probably not the job of Walkie Beef to do this because you're a small producer, small business, trying to educate an entire market. There is a group of hardcore consumers who love what you do and are always going to buy from you. There seems to be a group on the periphery that you've convinced to come across, like the bloke who had the black hair on his pork belly, and like people who have been convinced around, hey, this is why we're slightly more expensive or no cheaper than other butcheries. But there's a bigger job here to be done. Are you frustrated by that? Do you want to get out there and be the educator? or are you happily just doing what you do?
I'm not frustrated by it at all. It's opportunity. It's potential market share. There's and it shows you that there's so much opportunity for improvement everywhere. Like you could get beat up about that and think about, well, the fact that there's so much opportunity or room for improvement means that we're at a really bad status quo, but it's just not a productive way of looking at it. So I don't mind. I don't think I'm necessarily the guru that's going to do all the educating, but if I'm another step in the journey or another piece in the puzzle for a greater movement, I'm happy to tip my time into that.
You said it earlier, and you've also said it in one of your TikTok videos, and I quote, "I'm not passionate about a nice shopping experience for my customers," end quote. I'm pretty sure after 622 interviews with successful business owners, Jake, you're the first person to say that. And again, I get it because you've qualified it. It's all about the product, right? The experience is, at the end of the day, people aren't eating an experience for you. They're eating beautiful meat.
With the farm business, that's exactly right. Now, if we want to talk about the cafe or the bicycle shop, customer service actually stops becoming not only important, but does start to become a passion of mine. And I'm on the record for 15 years being passionate about customer service and staff management, but they're different businesses. It's a completely different thing. In the farm, I'm not here to make people warm and fuzzy by having a cashier smile at them on the checkout. I just simply do not care. I'm there to make them smile and feel good because they're eating great quality produce from animals that haven't been abused their whole lives. And people know that. So like most of the way they buy things off me is they buy it off my website and then a nameless, faceless courier drops it off at the door. Like I guess you could argue that you could stream like that and make that a bit better, but it's by no means a good shopping experience. It's a transaction that started and finished, and that's fine. That's all it needs to be. A lot of farmers in my space are turning themselves inside out and actually giving up because they're putting so much effort into customer service and relationship building when the farm is actually demanding and needs that time. And an example is, I know a local farming couple that I absolutely adore. They're beautiful people, and they've thrown in the towel with their enterprise. And I was doing a little bit of looking around online, and I happened to come across the fact that at Christmas time, they make postcards with a family portrait on the farm, and they individually write every single customer a letter and mail it out. And I did a bit more digging, and then I found out that they handwrite a thank you note to every single delivery all year long. And then they've given up because it's too hard and they've run out of time. It's like, I don't think any of that, like the customers probably open and go, oh, that's cool, throw it in the bin. They just want the pork. They want the good quality pork. And you've made a rod for your back. They don't care about the postcard. Give them the pork. And these people are killing themselves trying to do all this nice fluffy stuff when it's just not what the mission is.
I wonder if the product didn't live up to standards, then the idea of handwritten postcards, of creating a great customer experience, having the best customer service in the world would sort of overcome the fact that the product's not as good. You just seem to rely on the product being absolutely first class and letting that tell the story.
Yeah, and for us, it's the mission. Like I had the lady that helps me out with my SEO hopped on my MailChimp the other day, and she took a screenshot of my analytics. And my emails are, I'm like, oh, I might do an email today. I'll sit down for 15 minutes. I'll get my wife to proofread it if she's home. If she's not home, I just send it, warts and all. I don't care. And my open rate's, close to 60%. And she goes, you need to do, and that's, maybe only 1,000 people on the list or whatever it is. But she said, you need to run a workshop on how to do such high conversion. I thought that was poor. I thought 4 out of 10 people aren't opening my email. Like I was upset about that. She goes, that's amazing. You need to do a workshop on this and teach people how to do such good emails. And I said, it's not the emails, it's the mission. Like the emails suck. They quantifiably suck, but people like the mission of the farm because I'm so upfront about it. I'm taking no prisoners. Like we're here for animals and landscapes. We're not here for your shopping experience. So people are like, oh, I wonder who he's offending today, and I wonder how much it makes sense. And they open the email.
Well, I think they're buying into you as a personality. The reality is they are, and they're looking forward to the next email from Jake or from Walkie Beef, and they're going, okay, there might be spelling errors. He might get a bit abusive and tell me how it is, but hey, it's Jake, and I love that. He's not putting on any airs and graces, and he's the real deal. And I think you should honour that.
There's it's sort of exciting to be able to build a business on yourself, but at the same time, there's concerns around it, isn't it? Scalability and succession. And when I left the bike shop, when I got off the roster, because I've gone from 7 days a week for 8 years, and then eventually got off the roster, and there was enormous transition pains of customers coming in, because it's a first name basis kind of store. Where's Jake? He's my guy. He's been my guy. I've bought 5 kids' bicycles off him. I've bought every bike that I race on for the last year. Like, where's my guy? And it offended a lot of people. And that's the issue with building a business on yourself. But when you've got unbridled passion and you're happy to communicate, it's hard not to.
I reckon you've got the challenge you have going ahead, Jake. Just I've seen people like you before, and I say that with absolute respect and not with a smirk on my face. And particularly given you're at the younger end of being a business owner, your challenge will be to stay focused and not get ahead of yourself, I reckon. And particularly right now, you're in the eye of this 24/7 Butchery / TikTok video storm, and everyone's hitting you up for an interview. That'll disappear. In 2 weeks' time, you'll probably be a bit quieter. So good on you for taking the opportunities as they come. But it'll be really interesting to see how you go, because I notice you're speaking at some big conference in Albury. You know, you've got media stuff, you've got businesses to run. You've probably got the next idea on the bloody front burner ready to go. And so your challenge will be, I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly not giving advice here, but just having observed this before, do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? Do you have someone who sort of taps you on the shoulder and tells you to pull your head in every now and then?
I've never had a mentor or a coach. And you asked earlier about self-development, and I'm an avid reader, and YouTube, long-form YouTube, sort of become an extension of reading, hasn't it? The way we can, digest spoken word. But for me, mentor and coach would be dad and grandpa, who are both grassroots business people. And there's a bit of cottage industry mentality that comes with that, and there's a bit of closed-mindedness and arrogance to a level. Like, I always laugh that the reason we're all in self-employed is because we're unemployable. When my grandpa came to Germany and hopped off the ship, he was a tool maker, a tradesman, and he went through like 60 jobs in 3.5 years. He'd just walk off because the foreman looked at him sideways, So we literally got a pedigree of being unemployable. But I think, and I get advice, air quotes. I know you said you're not trying to give me advice, but I get people saying, you're doing too much, take it easy. And then I get other people saying, you need to get real, you need to actually scale, you need to go and get some equity and get your business, stop being this cottage businessman. And for me, I'm quite comfortable in knowing what I want. Like, I know what I want. A lot of people have never thought about what they actually want, and they can't articulate it. And I know what I want. And I find it very easy to make decisions. Like, and I'm on the record for saying I'd rather make a poor decision. I'd rather make the wrong decision quickly than the right decision slowly. But I don't find decision making hard, because I actually know what I want, and I'll just have a crack.
What do you want?
I want personal stability. So I want happy, healthy family, and I don't want my finances at home burdened. So I'm not the sort of business person that would fully leverage my house to take a risk to have a shot at the big time, because I don't want to come home and tell my wife, it's tight this week, we can't make the electricity bill. And I want continuous growth without the externalized costs, like I've articulated before.
I love it, mate. You're very big. Let's talk about values. You've actually articulated them in great detail on the website. You call them your 5 pillars of production. I want to understand how they guide all your business decisions, but just cutting to the chase, back to the 24/7 butcher shop, part of becoming a customer, I mean, you put all these, I love how you put hurdles in front of customers. No, you can't do business with me, champion, until you've ticked a few of my boxes, eh? And one of those boxes is a half-day farm tour out at Walkie Farm. I love this, mate. Tell us about, A, why all the hurdles, and B, why the tour?
Well, that hurdle is purely to become a member of the Butchery, which is the self-service model. So the Butchery is open 24/7. It's staffless. Customers get a unique PIN code, like a 24/7 gym. They gain access. They've got the run of the facility and all the inventory, and they're trusted to check themselves out with the surveillance of Big Brother sitting there. But I'm not just going to give the code to anyone. You've got to prove that you've got a bit of skin in the game, and I don't want to give it to some nameless, faceless person. I'm not so much worried about theft or vandalism. I'm also worried that they enter the butchery and I get a message, hey, went to the butchery for the first time. Why the hell are your chickens $30 each? That's a rip-off. So come to the farm first, spend 3 to 5 hours for me. The farm tours are a minimum. They're free, so is the membership, but they're a minimum 3 hours. Sometimes they go for 6, and that's because the consumers drag them out. They keep asking questions. We have to go sit under a tree so we don't get sunstroke. And I give them everything they want. It's like being a prophet on the pasture. You know, we're preaching for half the day. And then if you've bought into the mission and you still think this is something that I'd like to support, then I'll give you the keys to the building, essentially.
What is the PIN number, just out of interest, Jake? I was just trying to guess it the other day.
0000. Everyone's got a unique code, so I can see a time log of who's coming and going.
Of course they do.
Yep.
Yeah. So you track them. What's the worst thing that's happened in the butchery?
The worst thing that's happened is a meth head walked past the front door and smashed the keypad off with a hammer. So that wasn't a member. That was just nameless, faceless vandalism. There's actually about 2 hours of footage of him rampaging around Albury with a hammer, smashing in windows of shops. So it wasn't something unique to mine, and that can happen at any business, whether you're self-service or not. But actually in the building, I haven't had anything untoward happen in 2 years. I did one of my very first transactions. I actually witnessed somebody take 4 items and pay for 3. And I knew exactly who it was because I could see on the camera and I had the time pin. But one of my rules is sleep on it. It's very easy for me to be impulsive. I'm not very gun shy. And with those things, even though I felt completely righteous in the fact that this person had stolen from me and I need to, get what's mine, I thought just sleep on it because, it's 8 o'clock at night now and 6 o'clock in the morning's here nor there. And I woke up with an email in my inbox going, hey, Jake, I was in the butchery. I took 4 items instead of 3 because the 4th item didn't scan and I really wanted it. Here's a picture of it. Can you send me an invoice? And aren't I glad that I didn't jump down that guy's throat?
Yeah.
You know?
How did you know that happened? I know you watched the video, but you're not watching. I mean, did you just happen to watch an excerpt of video where that happened, or? That
was one of my very first transactions. So, and it might only be a couple customers a day going in and out, and they're motion censored cameras. So at that time, I was big brothering every minute. But now I just do spot checks. I just go on and watch one person once a week or something. A little bit creepy still.
I've seen it a little bit creepy. That's all right, mate. We're all a little bit creepy in some way, shape or form. Now, and by the way, I love the mow. How long you had the mow? Is that a Movember hangover from last year or?
I've had a mow since I got married. I've been married 8 or 9 years.
So once you're off the market, you get the mow.
That's what the wife wanted it. My grandma said to me once, I like your moustache, hides your ugly face.
Jeez, it's harsh.
She's a brilliant woman.
What did you say about her mow?
She doesn't have one. My grandma is my hero. She's the most beautiful woman. Yeah.
You clearly got a good family, brother. Let's talk about values while we're on the topic of family. And you, another quote from you: "If we compromise one value, the others will also fail. Nothing happens on our farm unless it meets values in our pillars of production." Just quickly go over. You mentioned 3 of the 5 pillars of production. Give me one more example of how they help you in guiding business decisions. You talk about the farm tours being one way that those values are applied.
So, mission statements for businesses suck, and I'm sure you've probably got a different opinion.
They sure do, brother.
But you take the top Fortune 500 and you remove, out of every single mission statement, you remove the identifier for the market that they're in, and they're all identical. Could be anyone. They're all junk.
Yep.
And I got nominated for Young Entrepreneur of the Year with the local business chamber like years ago. And then so they wanted me to go in the running. And I found out that when they nominate you, it's actually an invitation to nominate yourself, which I was like, what the hell is all this about? This is very strange. And then you got to fill out all these forms, and they were badgering me about it. So I spent 20 minutes and I blew through the paperwork. I didn't win. The guy who won's a friend of mine, and he said he spent 2 days on his application. So it's not actually who's the best business person, it's who does the best paperwork. But one of they gave me feedback afterwards, and they said, your mission statement for your business is lacking. I'm like, well, I don't have one. I made one up for the report because my mission statement was to sell bicycles and enhance consumer experience about riding around the region and improving their health. Like, it's all rubbish. But our 5 pillars of production, which is our farm mission statement, was genuinely created through conversation while labouring with my farm hands on the land. And it's like, Jake, what do you want me to do with this pig who's sick? And I'm like, why are you still asking me questions like this? Like, you're a farmhand who's given complete autonomy. You should know what to do with a sick animal. Like, it's self-evident. I said, we need to have a value hierarchy on the farm that can lead my staff to self-author throughout the day and not be unaligned. So we got the 5, and I call our 5 pillars a flywheel because they each feed into the other and give each other momentum. So we've got animal welfare, we've got environmental stewardship, we want to create healing food, we want to build community, and we want to be profitable. And if you get the first one right, which is animal welfare, and animal welfare isn't just giving your dog cuddles. Animal welfare is about the specific animal in the context of that species. So it's feeding a cow grass, not grain, because they're herbivores. It's keeping pigs outside and giving them the opportunity to wallow, because that's the pig's natural expression. It's having chickens the ability to perch and not just sit in cages all day, because they're birds, right? And if you get the animal's welfare due to its context right, the environment's automatically taken care of, because animals aren't bad for the environment. Like, newsflash, they are the environment. And if you get the animal's welfare and then the environmental stewardship correctly, by default, you're creating beautiful food. And then your community's going to want to know about it, and they're going to want to pay for it. And then you got more money to get back to the start scale of the operation. And that just like blossomed. That just was created through conversation while labouring.
And you didn't go to Harvard Business School to come up with that flywheel of values.
Where?
It's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant. You're a business and marketing savant. You're Aubrey Wodonga's answer to Rain Man. Have you seen that film with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise?
I got called Rain Man last week. My mate's going to love that.
Just you mentioned, mission statements are bullshit, and I agree with that. I agree if they're written well and used and applied, they can be very useful. But like you say, the top 500 Fortune 500 companies, they're just motherhood statements. And again, you rip out their name, and that can apply to anyone. I would also say that around values. Most of the time, I've been a part of many brand value workshops, and the work done, it can be quite good. But again, if they're not applied in the business, and it all falls to pieces when it goes past the owners of the business, because then you've got to get the staff to buy in. You can't just say, hey, these are our values, you must adhere to them. If they're not shared by the staff, then they're kind of pointless. How are you implement? I mean, I know you're just living them. I guess that's the answer. But is there a little trick that you've managed to imbue with the rest of your staff across the businesses to say, this is what we stand for, please do the same?
Well, I think firstly, you mentioned a lot of business people might have values that they articulate but not follow through with them. Like, it's really hard to stand by ideals, which a lot of people's values are actually ideals, when your business is struggling and you're not making money and you can't pay rent. You'll mug someone. Like so, and I think there's a difference between ideals and values. Like, your values aren't made up. You don't sit down and go, what are my values? Like, you can sit down and like try to articulate them, but they're a part of you, right? Like, you've been raised to have these values, and because I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm quite bullish about them, generally I attract people who want to work in our businesses because of the values. I don't hire people don't come to me because of the amount of money I pay them or because of how nicely structured the company is. Like, we're a pretty loose family-owned business. Like, we're not the most organised, squeaky clean, big company, but people like that. If you have to come to work half an hour late because your kid's got principal award, like, we'll figure it out. Just turn up when you get here and make it up another day. And that's because of family values. It co-authors, it authors that. So I think, I don't know, self-development.
If I was to get a bit business school on it, and I know it's not your style, it's not really my style either, but what you've done, you are creating a brand. We're all creating brands, whether we like it or not. You're a farmer. So actually, if we go back to the definition of a brand, my favourite definition of a brand is it's an emotional attachment. Actually, from a farming point of view, it's an indelible imprint. It's, you brand a beast and leave an indelible imprint on the beast. And I think that as business owners, that's kind of what we're doing in building a brand. We want to leave an indelible imprint in the minds of our customers, right? We want to be on the top of their shopping list for you when they want to buy a bike, when they want to go to a cafe, when they want to go to a butcher's. You want your brands to be on top, and that's what you're doing. And I think the way I see it is you polarize people. People either love you or hate is probably a big word, but, you know, you might piss some people off, and that's okay because you can't be everything to everyone. Then you're nothing to no one. And in doing that, you are building this emotional connection amongst a tight-knit group of customers who just love what you do. That's my little spiel, mate.
That polarization you talk about is really interesting. When the Today Show clip went viral on Facebook, and everybody was like, there was a few people ripping me because, like the things you mentioned, food's too expensive, not creating jobs, yada yada yada. All the responses were customers of mine defending my honour. You know, and I just thought, like, it was quite touching. It's like, well, I don't need you to fight my fights for me, but I do appreciate the fact that I'm worth 5 minutes out of your day to stick up for. Like, that meant a little bit for me. When I mentioned earlier that when I started employing people, I started censoring myself to not polarize. I don't like conflict, and I don't necessarily like necessarily being controversial. I rip the Band-Aid quick, because I don't want to stew on it anymore. And I think when people go through, you know, HR or mediation or conflict with me, the feedback I've had over the year is that I tend to like it. I don't like it at all, but I'm happy to do it because it needs to be done, right?
I think you don't go looking for it. When it comes your way, you front up and you as you say, rip the band off. Let's get this sorted out real quick. So, you know, probably going to bed the other night on that customer who took the fourth product, you know, would have been hard because you would have been stewing. You wanted to rip the Band-Aid off real quick, but sometimes, we got to put the space between it, right?
Absolutely.
It's a bloody good story, Jake. It's a really good story, mate. What's next? Are you going to bed down and just kind of, you know, focus on the shop, focus on the farm, or am I going to interview in a year's time and you've started a bloody travel agent or something completely unrelated to what you do now?
I'm pretty bullish on agriculture being our future. My family's always had the mantra to buy businesses you're not interested in. That's what we've done for decades and decades. And that sounds counterintuitive to a lot of people because you're told, follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life, do what you love, all this stuff. We've always been very wary about not trying to meet the market forced through our own prejudice and bias. So what that means is a lot of bike shop owners are old athletes that used to race, and because they're really passionate about triathlons, they fill their shop up with triathlon gear when everyone in the area wants a mountain bike. And they wonder why their business sucks. So my dad hates music and he bought a record store, ran a very successul record store for a decade. He hates music. I've never heard him listen to a song except maybe Johnny Cash, My Name's Sue, once, you know. But this farm business is a whole another level for us. As a family, it's a really weird journey because all of a sudden it's not just something that we are interested in. It's a higher form of interest. It's almost like a calling.
Well, you know, what we haven't mentioned is in part of your very early backstory is that you just wanted your family to eat really well, and you wanted to know where the food's coming from, no preservatives, no colorings, no chemicals, all that kind of stuff, and you found it really difficult. So,
well, when you're given the gift of a child and you look at it and you go, what am I going to do with this? And then I've got all my own health issues, and I was on this journey with all my own breathing, respiratory issues, skin rash issues, digestion issues, and I was starting to fix them. Then you got this baby. It's like I can't just, and a lot of mine were input and environmental, which I was figuring out. It was food, all my issues. And then I'm like, well, we got to do something really serious to give this kid the best go ever. And then I read a book called Deep Nutrition by Dr. Catherine Shanahan, and you start to go down the epigenetics rabbit hole, which is it's basically, I don't know if you've ever covered that, but epigenetics is the quality of your inputs in your environment either upgrade or downgrade your DNA, and that's passed on through your progeny. So if you, prior to you breeding, if you have a really crappy diet, and like everyone knows, if you smoke and drink alcohol, your kid's potentially going to have issues, but it's worse than that. It's if you're addicted to sugar and drink too much coffee and eat heaps of deep fried foods, you're actually predisposing your child to a dumbed down genetic sequence. I'm really simplifying this because it's a bit over my head too. But when you know that, you can't look at the world the same way.
Yeah, I get it.
You have to I had to do something about it.
And you've got this line on your website, we're reinventing the modern day dinner table, which, you know, sounds like a throwaway line, but there's a lot of depth to that. And it's probably like, you know, we all have a why. Why do we do what we do? And you're crystal clear on it. You just keep coming back to that. You keep coming back to your 5 principles of production, pillars of production. It's constant like that. Jake, last question. How do you maintain not work-life balance? Don't believe in it. But how do you got 2 kids, you got a third on the way, you got a beautiful wife, you got a lot happening in your business. Do you just switch off? Do you just call it a day at a certain time, or are you a workaholic?
I guess one point to that is my wife. Like, my wife and is an amazing woman, and honestly, if it wasn't for her, I'd probably be 130 kilos, suffering with all these health issues. I'd probably be still struggling with the day-to-day, muddling through my business. Like, her caring, and women just have this perception ability. See the things on the sidelines. She's really centered me a lot, but I don't switch off. I don't take holidays. I don't turn my phone off. Like, my wife sort of rolls her eyes sometimes that my phone is never on silent, because if I'm getting a phone call 11 o'clock at night, it's because someone's broken into my shop. Like, this stuff happens, right? So, like, I'm always the call guy, but I don't do details. Like, people think I'm off running away, always busy. Like, if someone calls me for a podcast and wants to do it in 2 hours, I can do it, because I'm not on the roster anywhere. I'm going around doing big picture stuff, setting up new parts of the business. So, like, I'm energized. I never feel like I'm having to drag the chain or do jobs I don't want to do. If I'm not enjoying it, I sub it out, put someone in there. And like you said before, work-life balance. Work is life, and life is work. And I've got 2 young boys, 5 and 2, who are homeschooling, and they come to work with me 3 days a week, and I don't baby them at all. Not once in 5 years during a workday have I taken... So
it's child labour. That's what it is. I knew it at 52-minute mark. We've got clear now. It's child labour, mate, eh?
Well, they're very productive.
Yeah,
but not once have I ever taken them to the park and I've gone, we're going to sit here and let you have a play for half an hour. It's just not what we do.
Yeah,
it's like you come to the butchery and work.
No fun in the Walkie household, mate. And I hear the 2-year-old's great with knives.
They both are. The 2-year-old got taught by the 5-year-old. The stuff my kids do, people freak him. Otto can light fires. He by himself. He can cut dinner. He cooks eggs by himself. He turns the stove on and boils eggs and does all sorts of stuff. But people just bash their kids into ordinariness.
Come on, mate. You're starting to sound like a proud father.
My kids rock. They're savages.
What's your favourite cut of meat? Personally, ribeye fillet.
My favourite cut that you would traditionally get would be a Scotch, which is, ribeye essentially. But a little unknown cut is called a hanger steak. And
hang on. Just getting the pen out here, brother. Hanger,
Hanger. It's very, sometimes they call it a butcher's steak, and you don't see it very often. The reason you don't see it is there's only one per animal. It sort of covers the diaphragm in between the ribs. And if the animal hangs on the rails for a little while, it dries out really quick. So either butchers throw it in the mince or the sausage trim, or they take it home and eat it themselves, because you can't make a display. You can't use up valuable display space with one per animal. And it's got a big line of sinew down the middle, which is quite gristly, but you just do it like high heat, 2 minutes on each side, 15-minute rest. And it's as tender as a Scotch if you avoid that sinew or trim it out, but the flavour's off the charts. The hanger steak is the steak.
I'm going to my butcher's this morning, and I'm going to ask for a hanger steak, and he is going to look at me like, mate, you know.
How do you know?
You are in the know. He's one of us. Walkiefarm.com.au, WOLKI farm.com.au is where you'll find Jake. I'll put the TikTok in the show notes as well. Hey Jake, awesome chat, brother, and good on you. I wish you huge success in the future.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Oh boy, how good was that? How good is Jake? He's a marketing ninja. So much to love about the way he goes about building and marketing his businesses and personal brand. Did you pick up that? Doing some great work inadvertently on building his personal brand. Someone's got to be the spokesperson in your industry. May as well be you. Hey, give me a buzz and let me know what grabbed your attention. I would love to hear. The number 0480 015 150. Now, let's see who's been calling me.
Hi, Timbo. My name is Nigel Letty. I work as a business coach currently with Outcomes Business Group, and I have owned and built 22 businesses over the past 40-odd years. I've written a book called The Wall, and I really care about trying to get people's business and life balance right, because I've done it every way wrong that you could possibly do. Some of those businesses were franchised, manufacturing, wholesale, retail. There's an awful lot of a range of business that I've had. The biggest was Bicycle Superstore, which grew out to 14 stores, 120 staff, and I think I ended up being not passionate about the business that I built. And I've just been listening to your podcast. It was introduced to me by my son, who is now a very successful business owner. He's 40 years of age and he's got work-life balance better than me. So I love to learn from clients. I love to learn from my own kids.
Hey, thanks, Nigel, for your honesty and shared love of small business. I concur with everything you said, brother. And whilst I haven't read his book, The Wall, although it is a great album, boom, boom, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, having started and run 22 businesses over the journey. If you do read it, let me know what it's like. Love to know. Everyone else, be like Nigel and give me a buzz on 0480 015 150 and let me know what marketing is working for you at the moment. You'll also find the number on every page of my website over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Righto, we're nearly there, team. It's time for you to take action on what you've learned. If you'd like to support the work I do for small business, then please check out my exclusive membership over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/marketing podcast. Membership starts at just $8.50 a month. Next week, you and I catch up with a couple of chocolate-making brothers whose incredible story starts with discovering a cacao bean in Peru that was considered extinct for the past 100 years. Great story. If you enjoyed today's ep, please hit the subscribe button on your favourite podcast app. That helps a lot, where you'll find 622 more chats with successful business founders. Big thanks to Alex Amster for stitching the marketing gold together, and to our in-house muso, Lockie Dolly, for the music bed. Most importantly, a big thanks to you for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.